Hello, my name is Luis Azevedo. I'm Executive Chairman and CEO of BRVO Mining Corp, which is doing an exploration in Brazil on the PGMs and also copper gold as well.
Luis, lovely to see you.
Thank you very much.
You good?
Very good.
You're smiling, and I think I know why. So we got the first of the 3 licenses through, on top of a kind of resource upgrade, a significant resource upgrade at that. So why don't we start with reminding people about the numbers around the resource upgrade, because I think it's a good place to begin.
Okay, so it's always good to remember, we picked up this project about 2 years ago with a 5 million ounces at 1.2 grams per ton, not compliance with 4311. We've done around 70,000 meters in the last 2 years, and we upgrade this to basically 10.4 million ounces of measured indicator resource at 2.04 grams per ton. So we increase just on that about the double, and also increase grade in almost 40%. But on top of that, we have about 5 million ounces of inferred resource at 2.01 gram per ton. So globally, this has crossed 15 million ounces, over 2 grams per ton of palladium equivalent. So it's a great achievement, and everything, it's basically 86% of that is from surface to 250 meters. So pretty shallow.
Yeah. Okay. So significant upgrade, and we'll come on to what you do next. But you can't do much without this a license. Yes. So tell us about this, because this is the first of 3 licenses that you will need to obtain. So we've got the right license for this phase. So what does it allow you to do?
Okay. Well, initially, I must say, that's normal. A lot of companies do permitting I would say, short time. But Brazil is very pro-mine, especially Pará is very pro-mine. And actually, what happens is that Brazil realized that PGM is a critical mineral for them. We have a big industry of automobile. We are importing over 460,000 ounces of PGM per year. So government got to know that, and they basically said, we want to move this forward as fast as we can, and we want to support you. So basically, we are surrounded by several mines as well. So government put us in a kind of acceleration program, which put us on top of the list for permitting. And basically, in Brazil, we have 3 permits. The critical one is the first one, LP, because that you basically have the design of the project, the size of the projects, and the footprint of everything you're going to build. Yes. The second one is related to more to an engineer. It's just a protocol. And the third one is when the project is up running, they check and give you the final operations that. Okay. So we got the first one, and we got this in relatively short time. Probably never happened to Brazil before, 8 months and 19 days. But we actually start working on this basically in 2023. So we complete a significant amount of studies of characterization of the area. Then we realize how much we have to do to build this, and we presented everything in June last year. And basically, they gave us last week.
Right, and how do we get to that point where we can start to better understand the economics of a project of this scale, based where it is? Because it's quite a strategic location. It's a very strategic metal. So how do you advance this thing, based in Pará, based in Brazil? How does it move forward?
Well, now ahead of us, we have, of course, do a lot more work in terms of metallurgy, in terms of characterization, and also do economic studies. That is our next phase. But the very important point that after basically receive the license, the government invite us here in PDAC, where they have the Secretary the Secretary of Mines, and Secretary of Mines and the Secretary of Environment were here in PDAC, and they basically signed a memo of understanding with us, where they promised to accelerate all the next phases as well. So we are very encouraged by the way that the Brazilians supporting us, and he always said, we are in one of the best areas in the world to build a mine. You have clean energy, you have skilled labor, You are surrounded by people that supports you. The stakeholders of there are very pro-mine. And you don't have any conflicts which usually can, let's say, postpone or stop mining, as for instance, indigenous territory, forest protection areas, nothing of that. And the best thing, you don't have to build significant infrastructure. You have 3 power lines crossing the property and a paved road basically cutting the whole property as well. So like everything is in our favor.
Okay. I promise everyone listening, watching this, we're going to get to copper and gold because those are 2 quite sexy metals at the moment. But sticking with the PGMs, in terms of the time frame, I'm trying to understand, because, it's important for me to say, last year, and even this year, and literally the company just before you fall into this category where if you can tell an advanced development story, if you can tell a near-term revenue story, the market is rewarding you. Everyone else is struggling a bit. But so, how do you quickly move through the phases given from this starting point now to a point where you say, I can show a timeline to production? What does that look like?
I think we are close to that. But Eddie, I give you 2 reasons. There is more to be done for a deposit of that size.
Okay.
And another thing, you remember, I just told you the mineralization that we have quantified, it's up 86% to 250 meters. And it probably a lot more below that. So we want to test a little bit that as well to understand how much we can count. And another thing, like we have a discovery of copper gold. So like both materials can go to the same plant, not at the same time. So we need to quantify that to basically put in perspective what we do first. So that's the next thing to talk about.
Okay, so now we're going to clarify, because everyone's eager. Everyone wants to back winners, right? And you've got a couple of good projects here. So in terms of what do you have to talk about internally to make that decision between do we go copper or gold, because that's very of the moment. It's good. Gold price is high. Copper price is starting to move quite nicely versus a big project with the PGMs. How do you weigh that up, that argument?
I think to weigh that up, I need to basically understand what I have in copper gold first. Right. And that's the goal right now. We have $25 million in the bank. So we're not struggling anyhow to get any money. We have the people, now that basically the geologists have done their job. Most of them are going to be dedicating themselves now to the copper gold exploration. We have done about 17 holes on just T5, but there's much more anomalies to cover. And we learn a lot with T5. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to start drilling again the copper gold. So the next phase is probably 2025, identify what we have an idea, and as I mentioned, since we have the cash and we have the people, as much we want to accelerate, I put a budget this year of $6 million, which lasts to over 6,000 to 7,000 meters of drilling on copper gold. But if we get good results, I can double this.
Right.
And even triple. Right. But we're going to do that, I would say, in sustainable basis. Right. Like we understand what we have. We don't want to jump over phase. Right. We've done a lot of geophysics. We've done recently a lot of soil, a lot of mapping, and now we have the targets that we're going to drill. Right. But the targets, as I said, the properties, almost 9,000 hectares. We have not covered all the targets.
But how do you come up? One is it's all year round drilling, presumably.
Yes.
And we don't have any rainy season issues to do.
No. You can drill on rainy season quite easily. We only stop it for Christmas.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, and then that access roads and so forth. All
very easy.
Okay, so there's that. So I get that sustainable approach. Let's just say, do some, assess the data. We'll work out where to go next. But that sounds like a big program. It's a lot. Yes. That's a big land package. In fact, you know what we should do? Remind people of the grades that we're talking about here, because you've got a bit of information already on the copper gold.
Yes. So we have like 13 positive holes just on T5.
Yeah.
And they came from 11 meters at 14.5%, over 3 grams per ton in average. but you have like huge intersects. And those things don't fall from the sky. They are part of a big system, IOCG big system. The good thing is we're not talking about 2-3 meters, it's 11 meters. And on the sequence that, we got 9 meters at 9.5. So the grades are there, the intersects are there. So now we need to find the source.
Yeah.
Of course, in a huge land pack, and as a IOCG, this is not like bread and butter. Needs a lot of work to be done. To back this up, I have to say, I probably have one of the best teams in the Carajás in Brazil. This Simon Modran, he has many discoveries. Paulo has the many discoveries in their career, and they are focused over there. And we just found this IOCG about 10 months ago. And this property had been worked by Vale and other companies for over 30 years. So the discovery is new, but is significant. Right. That gives me the incentive to go for, and I do believe if I have a very large, big deposit PGM, why not a very large, big deposit of copper gold as well? And remember, we are in an area where the giants are. We have Salobo, 1.5 billion tons. We have Paulo Afonso, over 200 million tons. Furnas, the same thing. GT46. There is a lot of projects. I was in BMO show, and I saw how many projects Vale plan to develop just on this north corridor over there. It's a huge program. They're going to build Salobo as a hub, and you're going to have been surrounded for several projects. Those projects took them 40 years to find. Like, I believe we're going to be successful very early.
Yeah, and when we've had many more interviews, I'll be asking you the question, because projects are taking a long time to kind of get to a point where they can be they are producing, right? It takes a long time. So I need to understand the model further down the line. But coming back to the immediate problem, say $6 million, say 7,000 meters, etc. What type of drilling do you think you're going to need to do? Is it going to be completely kind of greenfield exploratory, or are you going to build out from where you've already found?
No, we have about 9 anomalies, probably in the radius of 2 kilometers northwest, southeast of T5. And that's our plan for now. Outthought, there is some areas in the south where we found a lot of very nice copper anomalies.
Yeah.
And with I would say, a large exposure of copper on soils. We're going to drill that as well.
And what's the cover? Is it relatively shallow?
Oh, yes, probably. Well, we are doing the geophysics to define where the anomalies are under surface. But I would say they could be shallow, they could be deep, because what we are looking for is big systems.
Yeah.
We may find other T5s, massive gold, which is for sure, but we are looking for the large disseminated deposits.
And what, in terms of this balance between the gold and the copper, it's early days, but your hope is what? These IOCG systems are they're very well established, very well known, but in the region, are there kind of comparables that we
They vary. Like, I can say for the projects that we have worked in our previous company, Antas was very high grade, over 2% copper and 0.25 of gold in average. And the Pedra Branca was about 1.8, little 0.1 of gold. But the good thing is, like, what we have in Luanga is basically 10 times better than this. We have like 14.5% of copper, 10% of copper, which is unique, and over 3 grams, 2 grams of gold on those intersects. Right. That's what encourages us, that the system has a lot of gold and has copper as well. So it's a good combination.
Can you talk about some of the network as well? Because I'm so conscious in some areas that this higher grade copper tends to be can be native, or it can be At least in the processing.
This is probably related to some structure
Yeah.
and percolation of fluids that came from the dissemination.
Yeah.
This is not a deposit. Of course, it's a big incentive. It's a
Yeah.
big, let's say, signal. But I think what we are looking for is like those large, medium grades. We hope we get the Sosego's grades like 0.6, 0.7, over 200 million tons. And of course, there is potential for even larger, but we're going to be happy with something like that. And Sossego was found less than 25 years ago over there. This land still have a lot of discoveries to bring. And I'm pretty sure, since we got the T5 and other anomalies over there, T1, T6, which is quite interesting, like we are surrounded something big over there. And everybody from major companies that visit us, they say, you have excellent ground in your hands, man. This is not a PGM.
Yeah, no, for sure. And when that comes to the question of, this understanding between industry appreciating PGM and looking at kind of supply dynamic in country, even into industry, versus the excitement that is engendered when you mention the words copper or gold at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And so one is a kind of market play and one is an industry play. So in terms of what you think you need to do on the PGM side, whilst preserving cash but moving it forward to show those economics, how do you balance that attribution of cash? We want to drill here, but we've also got something really valuable over here. We need to explain that to the market.
Well, I think the market, we're gonna, as the market do, they learn and appreciate successful and efficiency. I think we proved that. Like what we did in so short period, you don't see that very often.
Oh no, that's
Two
fantastic.
discovers,
Yeah.
and a good exploration over like a large deposit.
Yeah.
But I think to address your point, I would like to get more time to understand better what we have until we decide where to go. Because
On which though? PGM or copper gold?
on the copper gold.
No, I get that. And I want to kind of park that. I want to compartmentalize it, but some silo this, because you've done on the PGM, you've done everything very quickly. You've built a high grade, sizable resource right where you want it, and industry I think will appreciate what you're doing. And you're going to go through a process of saying, right, once we go through these economic studies, there's a point at which maybe industry partners make sense more than worrying about, I need to make sure the market understands this and we can raise equity on this, versus copper gold, which I think is a better, more, better understood by say retail, better understood by, smaller institutional. It's copper, it's gold. There's a market for that everywhere. One's sort of a very technical sale and one's a sort of, well, how much have you got?
Yes.
So you got to get that balance, I think.
Yes.
Right?
These questions comes all the time.
Yeah.
And I think what I say to them, I said, doesn't matter how you go. Like, look what we have today. Look what market bought on the IPO. Basically, like we triple the company in PGM. And we deliver like new discoveries. Wherever this go, you already secured a very safe position over here. There is no doubt that very soon the stocks are going to start to react and show that appreciation. And I have to say, if we have a significant copper gold deposit over there, that's a question to be put to shareholders, because even in a big shareholder, I normally listen my large shareholders. We do this in the same company. We separate the assets and like we run one faster than the other. That's a question that I think the answer will come probably in a year when we find out what is there in the copper gold. What I said here is probably an answer that I got it from my shareholders. I said, what do you like me to do it? Because I consult with them all the time. And I have good shareholders in our company. You know that. BlackRock, Tembo, Franklin, RCF, all these guys. And they are experts. They say, look, we were expecting you be where you are today 3 years ahead of today. So you just shortened this for so long. So take your time, investigate this. We are here for the long term. You just make our life easier.
They're backing you. They're backing your team.
Yeah.
Right, to do this the right way.
Yes.
But I gotta dig.
Yeah, I know that. Shareholders are asking me the same thing.
For sure. Because I think, it's like, okay, you've done that, now what? It's always this, like, every day you got to do more and more. So, right, you got to show me.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you've given yourself some time to explore the copper gold. I think it's perfect timing. I think your balance sheet allows you to do this. And it's one of the better stories we saw last year. I expect it's one of the better stories we'll see this year.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you're gonna deliver you more news. We keep doing.
Yeah, man.